Hey friends, in this video, I wanted to share some principles, systems, and tools that you can use as a designer to just be a better designer, more productive, and live a happier life. Cal Newport, one of the productivity gurus of our day, in his book Deep Work, wrote these two things that I think are so valuable. Number one, the difference between expert performers and normal adults reflects a lifelong period of deliberate effort to improve performance in a specific domain. So you can go and design a website, or you can go do your process that you kind of just did or you started with, like the path of least resistance. But over time, the ones who really get good at something create processes and systems and principles that they work by that are not just easy, but effective. And then the ultimate question that I think is important to start with, that he clarifies so well in his book, but why? Why is this even something we think about? Human beings, it seems, are at their best when immersed deeply in something challenging. That in itself almost like reinvigorates my spirit to do hard things. Sometimes it's easier to feel like, let me go the easy route, or let me figure it out the easy way, or whatever that might be. But this is a good reminder that as you're growing, yeah, it's gonna be challenging, but when you do the challenging thing, it becomes easier over time. Same thing at the gym, same thing in most arenas of life. Now, let's get into it. We got 3 sections we're going to cover: principles, systems, and tools. You could use the timestamps below to glide through the video and go wherever you want. But let's begin with principles. So here, I'm gonna go through 7 or 8 principles lightly. I've talked about these in a ton of videos, so you can find them anywhere on my channel, but let's just go through some of them that are really important. Number 1, Pareto's principle. Pareto's principle is basically the 80-20 rule. If you've ever heard someone talk about the 80-20 rule, basically 80% of results come from 20% of effort. So you really want to always consider, when you're working with clients and you're talking to clients and you're working on a project, look for these 80-20 principles. One of the 80-20 principles I learned with design is that I could get a site to about 80% in about 20% of the time it takes me typically to do that first draft of the site. So what I learned in that was, don't go waste 80% of the time to get 20% of the results. Let me give you a clear example. I could get a site from 0 to 80% in about 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours. But to go from 80% to 100% would take somewhere between 12 to 16 hours. That's a lot of time just to move up a bit. Obviously it's important, but knowing that helped me get better at really diving into the parts that I needed to. Also, a rule I use, number 2, rule of 80. I deliver projects at 80%, so to speak, 80%. So I don't try to make the site perfect and waste 20 hours on creating a really cool footer, and then the client sees it and they're like, yeah, we don't really like it. I really emphasize the overall big picture and making sure we're at least 80%, and then give the client space to speak into something. So that's number 2. Number 3, Parkinsons Law. Parkinsons Law is basically work expands or shrinks in proportion to the time you allot. So this isn't like a principle for all of life, but when you work, this is really important. If you give yourself 2 days to do something, it'll take 2 days. If you give yourself 20 minutes to do something, it'll take 20 minutes. Think about when you were in college or high school and you had a test coming up or a paper due. You could get it done in 3 hours when you thought it would have taken 30 hours. Because you procrastinated or waited too long. I've done this so many times, but when it came down to it, you got done quickly, because when you force yourself in a certain amount of time, basically what you're forcing is yourself to make decisions. You're forcing yourself to really get in and say, I'm either gonna do this or this. When you're giving yourself a lot of time, you give yourself almost too much space and you never actually make the decision. So for putting deadlines on things is really valuable. We'll talk more about that in a moment. 4th one is gamify things. I super enjoy making things fun and making it like a game. Can I get this done in 3 hours instead of 7? Can I get it done in 90 minutes? Can I literally create an about page in 20 minutes? Make it a game. Anything you can gamify will just be a lot more fun. The next one is the rule of 10. A lot of people out there promise huge results without the effort. In my case, what I'll tell you is this: rule of 10, rule of 100, rule of 1,000, it really doesn't matter, just any multiple of 10, basically says this: Do it 10 times before you make any kind of interpretation or judgment on whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong. If you've only built 2 sites, you don't have enough data to really understand if you're good at it or not. Build 10 before you make that decision. If you're trying a new system, don't just do it once and be like, oh, that was really frustrating. Do it 10 times and then see, do I really like it? Where does it fall short? All of that. Now, number 6, I kind of lightly mentioned, but I'll mention one more time, set deadlines. The more deadlines you set, the more this is going to be a better process for you. When you set deadlines, you give yourself a clear indication. Even if you have more time with the client, your internal deadline will be so valuable for you to say, I need to make this happen by this time, or by midday today, this, and this needs to be done. The more you set deadlines, the less time you have to procrastinate, the less time you have to try to change your Spotify playlist again and again and again to try to find the right one. Set deadlines with everything you do. Number 7, probably one of my favorites, reward yourself. Find ways to reward yourself, whether it's going to be ice cream after dinner tonight, or it's going to be going out with friends for dinner, or it's going to be buying something. Sometimes you get to a certain point where you could just be like, yeah, I'll just buy it right now. But instead of just buying it and losing that dopamine hit, why not say, once I get this done today, I'll purchase it after. So use things around you to reward yourself, whatever that might be that could be interesting to you. I know those sound so simple, but those little things are really helpful, and make sure you keep moving forward on the tasks you have. And the last one, this isn't really a principle, but it's so important. Cut meetings as much as possible. If meetings are the way your business works, like that's where you're making money, great. But if meetings are just like talking and going in circles and sharing ideas, they're not necessary. You could do a lot of things via Slack, via online channels, via communication and messaging, any of that. You get a lot done. I try not to do too many client calls because they just kind of build up the project a little bit too much or spin circles or all of that. I really focus in on, I'm a designer and I want to spend as much time as possible designing. I know I need to do client calls, but my focus is to do everything online as much as possible because we have the tools. You could use Loom to record your screen and talk through your site so that when I'm available, I could review it, I could rewatch it. It's really simple. All of this technology makes it simple. Now, we're gonna go to number 2, systems. Now, you may say to me, I'm a creative type. I don't like systems. I don't like working in like these strict boxes. Well, this is going to be really helpful for you, and it actually may produce some levels of even more creativity in the process. Number 1, with systems, let's talk about processes. Anytime I do some type of design work, I use a process. I don't just kind of flow with it. If I'm feeling it and it's working, it's working. But for the most part, day in and day out, it's important to have a process. So when I design a site, client doesn't know this, but my internal process is 4 steps. I do the back-end setup, I do the initial design, I do the small pages on the site, and then I do the large pages on the site, and then I do a QC. That 5-step process makes it so easy, which leads to number 2, cut out any back and forth. Anytime there's back and forth in communication in your process, this really drains it. So if you're, say, designing a brand and a website, I don't like create a logo and then go to the website and start adding the logo and then go back and figure out colors and go back and forth. Anything I can do to try to systematize the process so there's less back and forth, I work at. If I need to go back and do something, I'll just take a note and then go back to it later and look at all my notes and make sure all those updates happen. So that really helps in, once you have a process, cutting back and forth. Anything you could do to eliminate back and forth is great. Now, back to our quote at the beginning, Cal Newport in his book, Deep Work. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitive demanding task. So with that, turn off notifications, clear your phone from being like close to you. I put my phone in a completely separate room, typically when I'm doing deep work. Anything that's cognitively demanding, that typically requires your best attention and focus. And so you want to be able to really hone in that time and not let random text messages, random Instagram updates, random social media being able to take and steal your time in that. Also, switching tasks costs a lot. Switching tasks in your mind costs a lot. Let me actually look up a stat really quick. So this is the crazy part, and it's so important to really consider this as you work. So they say, what is the cost of context switching? So if I'm talking to you, or I'm focused on a project, and then out of the blue I get a text message, and I like look at my phone, and then I respond to that text message, or I ignore it or whatever, it can take more than 25 minutes to resume a task after being interrupted. So just imagine you spent 2 hours going deep, and now you have all this context, your brain is firing off for the client, the problem, what you're solving, all of that, and then you get an interruption. Well, when that interruption happens, it will take you another 25 minutes after the interruption to get back to where you left off. And there's also like, I think, residue that stays from what you were looking at. So if you look at text message or social, there's a residue of that task that stays on with everything else you were doing. Oh, it's so normal that we have to talk about it, because literally we have to address it. Put your phone on airplane mode. You don't have to get back to everyone. There is no such thing as urgent 99% of the time. So do your best to put everything to the side and just create a clear space to work and really hone in on a deep problem you're trying to solve, or a task with deep work, so that you could solve it with excellence. Finally, let's talk about tools. Tools are so valuable in this process. The first tool I'm going to show you, we already looked at like airplane mode and systems and things like that. First tool I'm going to show you is a handheld timer. This thing is gold. What I do, you see it here, this could work up to 2 hours. I think they have other ones that go longer or shorter, but you'll see here I've set a 45-minute timer. Once it's done, it beeps just like that. And it's an actual handheld thing. I don't need my phone around, none of that. I literally could just set this on my table, and I know I set a timer for what needs to get done, go from there. The next one is use your Mac with like an external screen. Especially as a designer, you have a lot you're working on. At the same time, you're looking at a lot of tabs. Give yourself extra real estate. It's worth it as an investment. Whatever you do that can speed up your process by milliseconds is worth it. So get better at typing, get an external monitor. If you're out at a coffee shop, that kind of works, but it's a very distracting and loud place. Sometimes it's good to get into those environments to switch it up here and there, but when you really need to do deep work, what I've noticed for myself, it usually happens right here where I'm sitting, full monitor, no phone. Phone is basically off all day, even in the morning too. It's just like, I get into the day without touching my phone. I'll have like soft music playing, like piano or something like that. And then I just start going through rhythms of 2 hours. And I'll just set the timer, get stuff done, take a pause for 10 to 30 minutes, and then do it again and again and again. So those are really helpful. The next one is going to be Paste. It's an app, a tool that's really helpful. I'll list all these down below. It basically saves everything you copy. So this is so helpful because you copy a lot of stuff, you go back and forth, you got to remember things, you got to remember hex codes, other things, content. It will save all of it. It's easy to search. It's easy to use shortcuts to like quickly copy and paste and move things around. Absolutely love it. Definitely learn keyboard shortcuts. I mentioned it just a moment ago, but really get into keyboard shortcuts. If you don't know how to type, say for example, and like use the numbers at the top, definitely start getting better at it. Take typing tests, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Anything you do to improve your speed on a keyboard will improve your ability to perform, especially if you're sitting in front of a computer all day. And finally, simple checklists. I think I mentioned it a little bit with like writing it down, but I use this system where I use like super thick paper. This is like cardstock basically. I don't know why, I just like it. It makes it more sophisticated. And then I make simple lists. Like this is like so, like this is a horrible list. But today, these are the main things. And it's like, I know what's like most important here, which is what I'm doing right now, the YouTube content. I got a call at 1. I need to fix some YouTube links because we updated some links. And I'm doing a site review for a client. Like, boom, just like that. And as I go through it, I just check them off or whatever, get rid of it. But having this paper and having a simple checklist, or if I'm working through a process for a client, having a checklist in Notion is great. Like literally, I'm looking at my screen right now and I have this video to record and I have a checklist of items of other videos that I can record. It's so easy to manage, so easy to control. I love it. Anyway, with that, those are principles, systems, and tools that I use to be way more productive. I've gone from taking 40 hours to design a one-page website to taking 20 hours to be able to design a 15-page website. And that project, one project was worth, let's say, $1,500 and another one was worth $25,000. So these processes really help you scale. And again, the scaling is not just because you're like, oh, I want to make as much money as possible. That's important and valuable for people to have joy and like bring all that and have a good life. That's great. But what this is really about, I'll go back to the quote in the beginning, human beings, it seems, are at their best when immersed deeply in something challenging. So make this challenge worthwhile, grow in the challenge, push into it. And with that, if you got value from the video, hit the like button. If you want more content like this, subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.